Hey guys, in this video, we're going to do chapter number 8 on chapter 16 homeworks. So assume the banks do not hold excess reserve and the household do not hold currency. So the only form of money is demand deposit. To simplify the analysis, suppose the banking system has total reserve of $500. Determine the money multiplier and the money supply for each reserve requirement listed in the following table. All right, so what you know from chapter 16 is that your money multiplier, or MM, equals to 1 divided by the required reserve ratio. So whatever the ratio is, the reciprocal of that will be your money multiplier. And then the money creation equals to the new deposit times the money multiplier. That's your money creation. Okay, so let's do the problem here. So when the reserve required ratio is 25%, so 1 divided by 25%, then the money multiplier should be 4. So if your total reserve is $500 times 4, that'll be a $2,000 money supply. And then if your reserve requirement is 10%, one reciprocal of 10%, which will be 1 divided by 10% is a 10. So 10 times 500, that should be a 5,000 money supply. Okay, so as you can see, when you have a lower required reserve ratio, you should see an increase or larger money supply. So the lower amount of money the bank is holding onto, the more money supply we have in the economy. So the more money they will lend out. Okay, so remember, for money creation, it's more than how much money we're printing out. It's mostly coming from bank lendings. So every time the bank is holding on to less money and lend the money out, that's increasing our money supply. Now, suppose the Federal Reserve wants to increase the money supply by $200, so that's our goal. Again, you can assume the banks do not hold excess reserve and the household do not hold currency. If the reserve requirement is 10%, the Federal Reserve the Fed will use open market operation to use open market operation, you have two choices, either to buy bond or sell bond. So if you want to increase your money supply, so for open market operation, to increase money supply, for the open market operation, you're going to buy bond. And then you want to decrease money supply. So the reverse of that, you want to sell bond. Okay, so buy bond, you're going to increase money supply. Sell bond, you're going to decrease money supply. So in this case, we want to increase our money supply by $200. So we're going to buy bond. Now, you don't have to buy $200 worth of bond, because remember the money creation formula is the new deposit times the money multiplier. So if your target, so your goal, your money creation is $200. We want to create $200, and then your required reserve is 10%. So your money multiplier is 1 divided by 10%. So that's your money multiplier, and times how much is your new deposit or new bond. Okay, so if you do this formula right, the answer should be 20. So the government needs only to buy $20 worth of bond, and this $20 will be turned into $200 of money supply. Now, suppose that rather than immediately lending out all excess reserve, banks began holding some excess reserve due to uncertain economic conditions. Specifically, banks increase the percentage of deposit held as reserve from 10% to 25%. So before, their ratio was only 10%, but now it's changed to 25% now. So which means, you should be thinking in your head, at a higher percentage, we're going to see a lower money multiplier. It should be 4. It's not 10 anymore, it should be 4 now. So this will decrease our money multiplier will fall to 4. And in these conditions, Fed would need to still buy bond. Now we cannot, so 20 is not good anymore, because remember our goal is 200. So your goal is 200. but you're gonna do 1 divided by 25% now, and times the new bond. And once you solve everything, this new bond should be equals to about $50. Okay, so 1 divided by 25 is 4, so 4 times 50 is 200. So we need to have a $50 of new bond in there. All right, so which of following statement help to explain why in the real world Fed cannot precisely control the money supply? Check all applies. All right, so first one says Fed cannot prevent banks from lending all required reserve. This statement is false because the whole idea of required reserve is that banks cannot lend out the required reserve, which is set by the federal government. So that is false. The next, the Fed cannot control the amount of money the household choose to hold as currency. That is true because the Federal Reserve cannot tell each household, hey household, you cannot hold money for this month anymore, right? We cannot do that. We don't ever do that. You cannot control that. And then next, the Federal Reserve cannot force the bank, cannot control whether and to what extent bank hold excess reserve. So even though we can set a limit on how much is the required reserve, but how much the banks want to hold on top of that, so how much excess you want to hold, our Federal Reserve have no control over that. That'll be up to individual banks. I mean, that's the example over here. So even though we had a very low required reserve ratio, but the individual banks still choose to hold on to more cash in the system because it's just they don't want to have anything uncertain happen and putting more pressure on their individual banks. Okay, so answer is B and C. All right, let's grade it now. Okay, so we got everything right. So guys, let's go to number 8 on chapter 16 homework. Okay, good luck. See you later. Bye bye.